Japanese horror has given the world some of cinema's most terrifying supernatural entities. But these aren't just random scary monsters. Each J-horror creature represents specific cultural fears, ancient folklore, and supernatural rules that have haunted Japanese society for centuries. Today we're exploring iconic J-horror monsters and their unique supernatural powers, from water spirits that drown the living to immortal beauties that drive men to murder. These entities operate by specific rules rooted in Japanese spiritual beliefs and cultural anxieties. I'm covering monsters from classic J-horror films that define the genre, and I'm saving the most influential one for last. A psychic ghost who revolutionized horror by weaponizing modern technology against us. If you're ready to understand what makes Japanese supernatural entities so uniquely terrifying, let's dive in. Mizuko Ghost, Dark Water, 2002. The Mizuko Ghost from Dark Water represents one of Japan's most tragic supernatural entities, the spirit of a drowned child seeking maternal love. Directed by Hideo Nakata, the film explores the concept of Mizuko, which literally means water child, and refers to spirits of children who died before birth or in early childhood. Mizuko's supernatural powers center around water manipulation and emotional attachment. She can control all forms of water, causing leaks, flooding bathrooms, and manifesting through plumbing systems. Her presence contaminates water sources, making them unsafe and turning essential daily activities, like bathing, into potential supernatural encounters. What makes Mizuko particularly disturbing is her motivation. She doesn't seek revenge, but maternal love and attention. Her powers include appearing in reflections, manipulating water temperature, and creating water damage that forces families to acknowledge her presence. The ghost's abilities are tied to her tragic backstory. Abandoned by her mother and left to drown in a water tank on an apartment building's roof, her spirit remains trapped in the building, desperately seeking the maternal connection she never had in life. Mizuko's supernatural rules follow traditional Japanese beliefs about child spirits. She's most active around water sources, can only be appeased through maternal care, and her presence grows stronger when she encounters families with children. Kuchisake-onna, Carved, the Slit-Mouthed Woman, 2007. Kuchisake-onna, the Slit-Mouthed Woman, represents one of Japan's most enduring urban legends brought to cinematic life. This supernatural entity appears as a beautiful woman, wearing a surgical mask, who approaches victims with a deadly question that creates an inescapable supernatural trap. Her primary supernatural power is the deadly questioning ritual. She approaches victims, particularly children, and asks, "Am I pretty?" When they answer yes, she removes her mask to reveal her mouth, carved from ear to ear, and asks again. No matter how victims respond, she attacks with scissors or a knife. What makes Kuchisake-onna uniquely terrifying is her supernatural speed and persistence. She can move faster than any human, appearing and disappearing at will, and will pursue victims relentlessly once she's targeted them. Her powers include superhuman strength and immunity to physical harm. The entity's supernatural rules create no-win scenarios that reflect traditional Japanese folklore about vengeful spirits. She's bound to ask her questions, but will attack regardless of the answers given. Some versions include escape methods, but these are unreliable and often fail. Kuchisake-onna's origin typically involves a woman mutilated by a jealous husband or lover who returns as a vengeful spirit. Her powers are fueled by her desire to share her disfigurement with others, particularly targeting those who possess the beauty she lost. Tomie, 1999. Tomie Kawakami represents something more disturbing than a traditional ghost, an immortal entity that weaponizes beauty and desire to drive people to murder. Based on Junji Ito's manga, Tomie embodies supernatural horror through psychological manipulation and impossible regeneration. Tomie's primary supernatural power is her immortality through regeneration. She can regenerate from any piece of her body. A drop of blood, a strand of hair, even ashes can grow into a new Tomie. This makes her truly indestructible and allows multiple identical versions of her to exist simultaneously. Her most terrifying ability is psychological manipulation through supernatural beauty. Tomie's appearance triggers obsessive behavior in men and jealous rage in women. This isn't natural attraction but supernatural compulsion that overrides rational thought and moral restraint, driving people to violence and murder. What makes Tomie unique among J-horror monsters is her relationship with death. She doesn't fear being killed because death is temporary for her. Instead, she seems to enjoy being murdered because it proves her power over others and allows her to regenerate stronger than before. Tomie's supernatural rules include her inability to age or change her appearance permanently, her compulsive need to be the center of attention, and her power to corrupt normal human emotions. Love becomes obsession, attraction becomes violence, and jealousy becomes murderous rage in her presence. Onibaba Daemon, Onibaba, 1964. The Onibaba from Kanedo Shindo's 1964 film represents a unique fusion of human desperation and supernatural transformation. This demon entity embodies the horror of war, poverty, and moral corruption through supernatural mask-wearing and face-stealing powers. The Onibaba's primary supernatural ability is face theft through cursed masks. When she wears the demon mask, it becomes permanently fused to her face, transforming her into a supernatural entity. The mask grants her enhanced strength, supernatural endurance, and the power to instill paralyzing fear in victims. What makes the Onibaba particularly terrifying is the ambiguity between human evil and supernatural corruption. The entity begins as a desperate woman who murders samurai for their possessions, but becomes something inhuman when she dons the cursed mask. The demon's supernatural powers include the ability to move through tall grass fields without making sound, supernatural stealth that allows her to ambush victims, and enhanced physical capabilities that make her a formidable predator. The mask also grants her resistance to physical harm. The Onibaba's supernatural rules are tied to the cursed mask. Once worn, it cannot be removed without supernatural intervention. The mask feeds on violence and murder, growing stronger with each victim and gradually consuming the wearer's humanity until only the demon remains. Teke Teke, 2009. Teke Teke represents one of Japan's most visceral urban legends, the spirit of a woman bisected by a train who now hunts the living with supernatural speed and blade-like fingernails. This entity embodies the horror of urban accidents and the vengeful nature of traumatic death. Teke Teke's primary supernatural power is her incredible speed despite being cut in half. She moves by pulling herself along with her arms, creating the distinctive Teke Teke sound that gives her name. Her speed is supernatural. She can move faster than any living person can run. Her most terrifying ability is her supernatural strength and razor-sharp fingernails that can cut through flesh and bone like blades. She uses these to bisect her victims at the waist, recreating her own death and potentially creating new Teke Teke spirits from her victims. What makes Teke Teke uniquely horrifying is her hunting pattern and supernatural rules. She appears to victims who are alone, particularly in urban areas like train stations, underpasses, and school grounds. Once she targets someone, she will pursue them relentlessly until she catches and kills them. The entity's supernatural abilities include the power to appear suddenly without warning, supernatural endurance that allows her to pursue victims indefinitely, and the ability to climb walls and navigate urban terrain in ways that should be impossible for someone without legs. Aokigahara, Forest Spirits, Noroi, The Curse, 2005. The Aokigahara Forest Spirits from Noroi. The Curse represent the collective supernatural entities that inhabit Japan's infamous suicide forest. These spirits embody the accumulated despair and death that has made Aokigahara one of the world's most haunted locations. The forest spirit's primary supernatural power is psychological manipulation that drives people to suicide. They can influence human emotions, amplifying depression, hopelessness, and suicidal thoughts in those who enter their domain. This power is particularly strong because it builds on the forest's real reputation and history. What makes these spirits uniquely terrifying is their collective nature. They're not individual entities, but a supernatural ecosystem of despair that has grown stronger with each death in the forest. Their powers include creating disorientation that prevents people from finding their way out, and manipulating electronic equipment to fail. The spirits can manifest as whispers, shadows moving between trees, and the sensation of being watched or followed. They're most active in areas where suicides have occurred, and their influence grows stronger the deeper one ventures into the forest. Their supernatural abilities include the power to create temporal distortions, where time seems to slow or stop, the ability to manifest the voices and images of previous suicide victims, and the power to make living people feel the emotions and despair of those who died in the forest. Kagutaba Demon, Noroi, The Curse, 2005. Kagutaba from Noroi. The Curse represents one of J-horror's most innovative supernatural concepts, an ancient demon that feeds on human attention and grows stronger through media exposure. This entity embodies modern fears about information, surveillance, and the power of mass media. Kagutaba's primary supernatural power is attention-based growth. The more people know about it, see it, or discuss it, the stronger it becomes. This creates a paradoxical horror where investigating the demon or trying to warn others about it actually increases its power and influence. The demon's abilities include supernatural influence over electronic media, the power to manipulate recordings and broadcasts, and the ability to appear in photographs and videos even when not physically present. It can also influence people's behavior through media exposure, creating obsession and compulsive behavior. What makes Kagutaba uniquely terrifying is how it weaponizes modern communication and media consumption. Every documentary, news report, or investigation into the demon feeds its power, making traditional methods of combating supernatural threats counterproductive and dangerous. The entity's supernatural rules create impossible situations. The only way to stop it is to prevent people from learning about it. But the only way to warn people is to spread information that makes it stronger. This creates a supernatural catch-22 that reflects modern anxieties about information overload. Sadako Yamamura, Ringu, 1998. Sadako Yamamura from Ringu represents the ultimate evolution of J-horror, a psychic ghost who weaponizes modern technology to create inescapable supernatural death. Her powers revolutionized horror cinema by making the act of watching entertainment itself potentially deadly. Sadako's primary supernatural ability is psychic projection through technology. She can embed her consciousness into magnetic media, allowing her to travel through any device that plays her cursed videotape. This power transforms televisions, VCRs, and other electronic devices into supernatural portals. Her most terrifying power is the 7-day death curse. Anyone who watches her cursed videotape will die exactly 7 days later unless they copy the tape and show it to someone else, spreading the curse like a supernatural virus. This creates a moral dilemma where survival requires condemning others to death. What makes Sadako uniquely horrifying is her ability to cross from digital media into physical reality. When she emerges from television screens, she's literally traveling from the technological realm into the physical world, making every screen a potential threat. Sadako's supernatural abilities include precognition that allows her to know when and how her victims will die, psychic powers that can kill through pure mental force, and the ability to manipulate electronic devices from within the cursed media. Her powers follow specific supernatural rules. The curse operates on an exact 7-day timeline, can only be transferred by showing the tape to someone else, and grows stronger with each person who watches it. These J-horror monsters prove that Japanese supernatural cinema creates uniquely terrifying entities by combining ancient folklore with modern fears. From water spirits seeking maternal love to psychic ghosts, weaponizing technology, each monster operates by specific supernatural rules rooted in Japanese cultural beliefs. What makes J-horror monsters so effective is their connection to genuine cultural anxieties and spiritual traditions. They're not just scary creatures, but representations of deeper fears about death, technology, beauty, isolation, and the supernatural consequences of human actions. Whether dealing with immortal beauties, vengeful urban legends, or ancient demons adapting to modern media, these monsters prove that the most effective horror comes from supernatural entities with clear rules, cultural authenticity, and powers that reflect genuine human anxieties. Which of these J-horror monsters would you least want to encounter? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more content exploring the supernatural entities that make Japanese horror uniquely terrifying.